A boy found a box on the street, but when he opened it, he started to cry and ran to the hospital. Dean, a 16-year-old boy, was walking home from school when he saw an old shoebox lying on the ground. Curious, he picked it up. The box felt light, but something inside moved. Dean carefully opened the lid, and what he saw made him speechless. He stood there, shocked, not sure what to do. His hands shaking, he closed the box and quickly ran toward the hospital, hoping someone could help. When he arrived at the hospital, he was out of breath, holding the shoebox tightly. The nurses saw how scared he looked and brought him to the emergency room. They gently opened the box, and they were also shocked. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. One of the nurses started to cry. The nurses quickly rushed the shoebox into a special care unit. Inside, wrapped in a dish towel, was a tiny newborn baby. The baby was barely breathing and looked incredibly fragile. The hospital staff immediately began working to stabilize the infant, who was suffering from hypothermia and other serious health issues. As the staff worked, Dean stood outside the room, still in shock and wiping away his tears. He couldn't stop thinking about how he had just found the baby lying on the street. One of the nurses eventually came out and asked him if he knew where the baby came from, but Dean shook his head, explaining that he had just found the shoebox on the sidewalk while walking home. The nurse, now realizing the full situation, thanked Dean for bringing the baby to the hospital and saving its life. She told him that if he hadn't acted so quickly, the baby might not have made it. Dean couldn't help but feel relieved, even though his heart still raced from the shock of it all. What they didn't know was how the baby ended up there in the first place, and that would be a mystery they'd have to solve.